basting stitch is one that you create before putting it through a sewing machine. And it's just a temporary stitch to anchor points together so that it doesn't slide around and get misaligned in the sewing machine. And for that reason, you don't have to sew every single dot. You can sew much further spaced apart because you're just going to rip it out later anyway after you've properly stitched it with a sewing machine. So when you baste, you follow the same pattern as the regular version of the stitch, but the basting version is only stitching the blue dots together. You start with sewing A0 to A0. That's the first teal dot that comes up. You pull it. Then you come back to this side and you sew A1 to the other A1. Notice how I'm skipping over all of those black dots. I'm only doing the blue ones. Now that we've sewn A1 to A1 and pulled our thread taut, you sew A2 to A2. Pull it taut. Now you can see that we have a pattern going here. Our next blue dot is right next to A3. So A3 to the other A3. And you pull your thread taut. It is a good idea to pierce each layer individually instead of just placing your materials on top of each other and just piercing both at the same time. With this translucent vellum paper, it is easy to see when the dots are perfectly aligned, but in practice, your seams are going to be made out of opaque printed fabric most of the time, so you won't be able to see just from putting the layers on top of each other whether they're actually aligned. So it is good to get in the habit of piercing each layer one at a time by separating it with your fingers. This applies to basting stitches and full hand stitches. Okay. A5 to A5. A6 to A6. A7 to A7. Be very careful with your fingers if you're a beginner and you're concerned about stabbing yourself. Definitely wear a thimble, which keeps your fingers safe from the needle. With a typical permanent stitch, you want to pull the thread taut and tie it off as tightly as you can, but because this is a very temporary stitch, just meant to hold it together until it goes through the sewing machine, we want to tie a knot that doesn't exactly go all the way to the material. You want to leave a little bit of space in between your last stitch and the knot.